Now we're going to focus on how to use commas with non-essential information. What do we mean by non-essential? Non-essential information is that information which is unnecessary, not necessary, to the meaning of the sentence or to the essence of the sentence. The information might be descriptive, it might have importance, but if it's removed, the sentence remains grammatically correct and the essence or the essential meaning of the sentence remains the same, remains unaffected. And whenever we are using information that just adds a bit more, adds description, but is not essential to the meaning of the sentence, we're going to set that information off with commas. Now, there are other means of doing this, but right now we're going to focus on using commas to set off non-essential words, phrases, and clauses. So let's take a look at this sentence. The Iliad, which was written by a famous Greek poet named Homer, is a story about the Trojan War. Now, which group of words should be set off by commas? Well, here's a hint. First, look for any group of words that start with the following words: who, which, whose, or whom. Any group of words starting with these words can be considered to be non-essential. So let's see if we find, there it is, which. And let's read that group of words that works together or is grouped with which was written by a famous Greek poet named Homer. Now, if I were to remove that from the sentence, here's how the sentence would read. The Iliad is a story about the Trojan War. The sentence remains unaffected. Its essential meaning is that the Iliad is a story about the Trojan War. Now, I wanted to add to that it was written by a famous Greek poet named Homer, but that is not essential information. It does not affect the core meaning of the sentence. And because it is not essential, because it is non-essential, indicated by this pronoun which, then I can place a comma before which and a comma after it, like little hooks, which can remove this information out of the sentence or place it back in. And those commas, those little hooks, set off this information so that the reader knows it is not the most important piece of information and it is not the essential piece of information in the sentence. And so the correct way to write this would be the Iliad, comma, which was written by a famous Greek poet named Homer, comma, is a story about the Trojan War. Now, if this doesn't work for you, look for the subject and the predicate. The predicate will be started by the main verb of the sentence. Obviously, the subject and predicate are essential to the sentence. Thus, any choices, which you will do in your exercises now, that do not contain either the subject or the predicate will be the non-essential phrase or clause. Okay, so you can begin with number 2. Hector, who was Troy's greatest warrior, angrily chastised his brother for causing the Trojan War. When you look at this, you'll see who was Troy's greatest warrior is really non-essential information. It's descriptive, it adds some importance, but it's not essential to the meaning of the sentence. And if I take it out, I can say Hector angrily chastised his brother for causing the Trojan War. That's what I wanted to say. And I added some information about Hector, who was Troy's greatest warrior, and this information ought to be separated or set off by commas. So I would put a comma here, and I'd put a comma there. Okay, so this is my, actually it's a clause really. Let me do it right here. Get this clause out for you here. That is the clause, and I can take it out. It is a relative clause. It has no importance or essential meaning in the sentence. All right, so let's go and practice this now and become fluent with how to use commas to set apart non-essential information.